Hi, I'm Amy Coots, and I'm an actor, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Acting with Courage Hypnotherapy. And in this series, I will be interviewing some fantastic actors, writers, directors, producers, anyone involved in the creative arts. And I will be asking them how and why they got into their respective careers, and the advice that they offer to other creatives to look after their mental health and well-being. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me again today. So I had the pleasure of meeting a lovely young man at an event that I attended in London, which was related to mental health and creatives. He is a trained actor who has performed in pantomime, theatre in education and fringe festivals across the UK. He is also a performing arts teacher for children and podcaster. Hello, Adam Hughes. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you so much for joining me today. You wear a few different hats. You're an actor, teacher, podcaster. You do improv.
Yeah.
Why do you do all of these things?
Well, it's hard to get your foot into one thing really, and I always find myself sort of wanting to do different things, and there's so many things that I love that I just think to myself, well, if I'm happy doing all these things, I want to do loads of different things, have my feet in different places and do loads of different cool things. I just enjoy it really. It's just everything that I enjoy that I want to do.
Can't really argue with that, can we?
Exactly. I always find it's always been a bit weird because I always end up, if I've got like just one job or one thing, if I'm just doing one thing, because I've had that before, and it's just never really, I've always been sort of bored and I've always wanted to do different things. So now that I've got a multitude of things that I do, it just makes my life happier, really. I enjoy going to different places and doing different things and meeting new people. It's just how I like it, really.
It's very interesting because, I mean, I've spoken to a few different people in this series, and there's very differing points of view. There are some that are like, find that one thing, just get really awesome at it and just do that. And then there are people who are like, I do these two things. And then there's people such as yourself who do, you know, a mixed bag of stuff. So I hope anyone watching can understand that they could be any one of these things if they wanted to, you know, focus on that one thing or do more than one thing if that's the thing that brings you joy. And so I believe you trained at East 15 Acting School. Can you tell me about your experience there?
Yes, I did. So East 15 was an absolutely wonderful experience for me because it was very different to what I'd experienced before. So I was in a large cohort of actors and performers and writers. So at college, everyone was training to be an actor and everyone was sort of training for one thing. Whereas here at East 15, when I was there, everyone was there because they wanted to do different things and they wanted to go into different parts of performing and the sort of the industry as a whole. And I had such a wonderful experience, a wonderful time. And the course that I did, which was the World Performance course, we got to train with practitioners from all over the world. And it was just such a fascinating experience. It really opened my mind up, which is something I found when I was at college I didn't really get because it was more of the straight acting route. As much as I loved my time there, it never felt like I didn't really get like a well-rounded perspective of what's actually out there for performers. So I had a blast. I had a great time.
I mean, this is my ignorance here, and maybe it's existing in many places in the world. I didn't know you could do a world performance course. I just figured it was like acting or one discipline. I didn't know there was such a thing that existed. That's
exactly what I had when I went to interviews after I left. So I would say to people, "Oh, I did the world performance course," and I go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And I'd find myself after a while going, "What is it? What did I do for 3 years?" And sort of trying to summarize it was a little bit difficult because it's such a mixed match of different things. It really is crazy.
So would one of those things, I didn't expect that we'd focus so much on this, but I'm really fascinated now. So when I was at uni, I did drama and education. So so the first 2 years were predominantly performance, and then we sort of headed into the pathway of education. But we did a physical theatre unit, which was one of my favorite units.
Yeah.
And that was based on Japanese style of theatre. Did you cover any of that, like kabuki or Suzuki, any of that stuff? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did that for about 2 terms. We did 2 terms of well, not consecutively. We did 1 term in my second year and 1 term in my third year. And it was an insane project. It really was. It was just learning about Japanese theatre, Suzuki no theatre,
yeah,
Japanese masks. It was very in depth. depth. And it was really interesting, actually. It was really cool. It was very, very, just such a weird experience, but I loved it all the same because it was fascinating to know about it all.
I think we get the stock standard, I mean, I guess Western style of preparing
Yeah.
for, American or British theatre or whatever it might be, like quite traditional, either classical or method or
Yeah.
camera, technique for camera. But then to actually look at, what about all these other amazing styles that are so popular in, Eastern culture and places like Japan, and then the way that the French, love Lecoq and all the mime and all that sort of, or commedia, which is Italian, all that stuff is very informs so much of the performance we do, but we often don't get exposed to that.
Definitely, it really is, because it's such a unique course and such a unique concept for a course as well, that going out of there, leaving drama school with the experiences that we had after leaving was just it was just absolutely superb, because you can go out to the world and you can reference all these different places that you've studied about and all these different experiences you've had just at university, at drama school, and taking that with you onto doing other projects it's an invaluable experience. I did find it quite difficult though when I left, going off into working with people that hadn't had that training. It was a really fascinating experience, because while I had a different way of working, I had my way of working from East 15, which was by devising and creating and being very much on your feet and being creative, and then all of a sudden working with people that likes to work with script and were very sort of like straightforward about what they wanted to do. And it was like, oh, this is different. This is a whole new level. It's quite fascinating, really.
Now, I wanted to move on a little bit more to sort of the mental health and well-being side of things, and then we'll come back to how that aspect of your life has sort of driven you and motivated you to what you're really passionate about. I don't know about you, but what was really interesting to me at the event we both attended, which was Nourished Mind. If anyone doesn't know about this, which you may not, there was this wonderful event in London, Nourished Mind, and I think there might be another one because it was so.
There will be, yeah.
But I love. It was created by a lovely lady by the name of Isabel Florence, who was interviewed in this series as well. And she runs a company called Perceptions Warehouse. So if you're in London, you're a creative, you're a performer, please look up Perceptions Warehouse. But what was interesting to me about this Nourished Mind event was, and I was kind of glad about this, was I think in the end, I think somebody cancelled, another lady was supposed to speak, and I ended up being the only woman who spoke among 5 other men. And what was really interesting about that was seeing all of you guys getting up there, sharing your vulnerability, sharing the difficulties and struggles that you had, when in the media, quite often it's men are not talking enough. Men have the highest rates of depression and anxiety and all these other things, and they're not talking enough and they're not reporting enough. And yet here I was in this room of these 5 men who were like, right, I'm gonna put it out there and talk about this. And I was so glad about that. So would you mind sharing a little bit of what you talked about?
Yeah, of course. Well, I completely agree with what you said, for one thing. So it really was such an uplifting experience, because I found, especially, like you said, it was, there's a lot in the news about men holding back their emotions and being quite guarded about how they feel, especially when it comes to depression, anxiety, PTSD, as had been spoken about in the big event. It was such a relief to see, like you said, a group of guys, myself included, opening up about emotions and being emotional. And as well, for just the sort of time that we had, it was a very intimate experience, I found. It
really was, yeah.
So I spoke about just my sort of general story, really. What I generally tended to focus on in that was just talking about my story and getting my story out there, and how it had affected and changed over time. My experiences with OCD as well, suffering from OCD and depression, and how eventually I sort of held everything back in. As I spoke about in the talk, I held all my emotions back, because as an actor, I was putting on a character that I was happier and stronger than I was. And that is something that is very much happens a lot. A lot of actors, Robin Williams being such a big example.
Absolutely.
Of putting up this big, courageous, smiling person, but actually on the inside being not able to talk and being very depressed and upset. So my story sort of centered around that, the fact that I was putting forward this version of myself that I wanted people to see. I wasn't lifting a veil or anything like that. I was presenting myself as being one particular person, and how that eventually led to very dark places in my life and very dark experiences. So my talk was mainly focused on that and how that affected me and how that made me want to do things like this, this interview here and going
Mm.
to Nourished Mind and hopefully becoming a public speaker, which was a lovely moment actually, because I'd never really done anything like that before. I'd done my podcasting, but when it came to actually talking about, actually standing up and talking to an audience about my experiences, it was just a wonderfully freeing time. It really was. It was an experience like I'd never had before, really, and one I
Yeah.
should definitely have again.
I think anyone who was there with me would agree that you were quite captivating, and quite engaging as a speaker. And anyone could sort of say, oh yeah, but actors are, but actually you were being
Yeah,
and that's really hard. Like you're saying, it's easy to kind of channel into a character and kind of hide behind that, but you were being you, sharing your
yeah,
story and putting yourself out there. And people think that it is easy for us because we are actors and it must be
yeah,
easy just to do that like on a dime. But actually, when you have to present Adam Hughes
yeah.
as his most authentic self, that can be quite daunting.
Yeah, it can definitely. I do completely agree with you there. It is, and it just felt like it felt very, I would say vulnerable. It was a really vulnerable experience. And I could see that, I could see that everyone else was sort of feeling that as well. That
Mm,
everyone else who was speaking, myself, you, the other guys who were speaking, it
yeah.
felt very much like it was a vulnerable experience, but one that held no one back, which I thought was great. I thought was really nice.
So you teach a drama club.
I
Um,
do.
if you could tell me a bit more about how you came to that and what you most want to give to those young people, because I think that is a career possibility for many acting graduates who probably haven't considered that as another prospect instead of waiting a table or whatever it might be. So if you could share those experiences.
Yeah, well, I did. I went through that exact path myself, actually, because I went from going out of drama school, out of uni, and I got, I suppose, for want of a better term, I got the bog standard jobs that you get when
Hmm.
you leave uni.
Which is
So like
fine, but
waiting.
by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Just so everyone knows.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
No,
if you want to
completely.
use your creativity in a different way.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. There's
Mm.
absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Like, it was a good thing to do,
Yeah.
and it's an experience that I urge anyone to do, is to go out there and get those jobs that are, not the non-creative jobs if you've come from a creative background, because
Mm.
it does teach you a lot about perseverance, and it
That's
teaches you a
true.
lot about getting money and how the world works. So leaving uni and drama school and doing jobs like that was a great experience, because I
Mm.
saw the world in a slightly different way. So I was introduced to the world of working and getting myself out there, because I find that you can have a lot of success, but then those dry spells straight after uni, but then those dry spells can feel like an anchor. They
Yeah.
can really pull you down,
Hmm.
you're suddenly thinking, hang on a minute, I had a load of really cool tours and really cool film gigs, and now I'm sat doing nothing. What can I do? It doesn't really prepare you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas those jobs really helped me out with that. And after a while, I got a job at this aquarium, at the aquarium on the South Bank in London, Sea Life London.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience, because I come from literally just next door at the London Dungeons. I was an actor there,
Oh, I love
and
London Dungeon.
oh, it's a good experience, isn't it? It's a really great thing to do.
Yeah.
It was a good job as well for someone who's an OCD sufferer like myself. I sort of broke a lot of barriers doing that job. So I did that job for a few months, and then I moved on to Sea Life, because I'd worked at an attraction 8 months, no, 4 or 5 months before Dungeons. I'd worked at another attraction, again, literally right next door, which was Shrek's Adventure.
No.
And so I thought to myself, after a while, I was like, yeah, I've had this experience of working in an attraction as a performer. I don't think I want to do it again. As much as I had fun, I sort of felt after a while, look, it's not for me anymore. I've done it once, twice now. There's
Yeah.
no point doing it again. So I got the job at Sea Life. And for there, what I did was I did talks and I did presentations about the animals that we have, and I did a customer facing role. Now, this role was the first experience I had as talking as myself, because I've been used to being a character for so long
Right.
that I suddenly started talking as myself. I thought, hang on, I enjoy this. I'm getting a lot out of this. I'm able to express myself and articulate myself in a really good way. And the great thing about the job was we could do the talks with our own stamp on them, and I really enjoyed that. But from there, we started doing class tours. So like schools would come in and we would do talks and we would classes, and I thought, this is really interesting. I really like this. This is a really cool thing to do. I enjoy teaching. And then after a while, I sort of sat down and I wrote down what I wanted to do. And teaching was the first thing that came up. I was like, I love it. I want to be a teacher. And so from there, I left city life after a year and I got a job as a drama club teacher. It was a bit of a weird experience because I had, in the space of March, I had moved out of my house, got a new job, was starting like 2 new jobs, and it was all a bit of a mad time for me.
As often happens, yes.
As often happens, exactly. As often happens.
When it rains, it pours.
Exactly. It was all a bit of a weird twist of events. So I became a drama club teacher. I worked in 4 different drama clubs, which then went up to 6. And I did 12 weeks of a drama club every day, Monday to Saturday. And I loved it. I had a great experience. It was just, I was running all around London doing these different clubs every day, and I just got exhausted by the end of a 12-week term. I just got completely exhausted. I loved it, every second of it, and I would happily do it again. But I've done it once, and I got a lot from that experience. I gained a lot because there was a lot of screw ups that I made, and that's good. You don't often hear that.
Right.
And I tell my kids, the kids I teach now, I tell them all the time, never be afraid to make mistakes. Make mistakes, but don't wallow in them. Learn from those mistakes. Understand that you made the mistake and then move on from it and just don't do it again. It was a really fun time, that was. So from there, I ended up working like I'm doing now in 2 primary schools as a TA, a volunteer TA in music and theatre, and a carer and a child carer. So I do those in 2 different primary schools, and I've got my stage school on Saturday morning that I teach at as well, which is, it's led me nicely to this time where I'm sort of doing I'm doing these really nice jobs, and then in September I'll be a full-time drama teacher in one place. So
fabulous.
It's all a lot of things at once, really, but it's been great.
And just on that point, I mean, again, when I went and did my university course, just to get back to gender a little bit, I'm very happy to see, and I had a few mates that were male, but the majority were female, gearing towards education. But I think it's such a great thing to have a few more drama teachers who are male. I think it's great to have male role models.
Exactly. And that was a point that I made actually in the talk that I did. Was actually a big point that I made, that being a male in a predominantly female profession as a child carer, never, let alone as a teacher, because as a teacher there's more male teachers now, and there's I think a decent enough ratio. It's again that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but it is still a good thing. But as a male child carer, it has been said to raise heads, and I've had my share of sort of people saying, why are you doing that? What are you doing that for? It has been quite a distressing thing because, as a man who's, as I've gone in, I've done my training, I've done all my childcare certificates, I've done countless courses, things like that, to prepare myself and train myself and, be the best that I can be and, understand everything about the job. Is hurtful to hear comments like that. And it's made me sort of, question a lot of things. But now I've learned that it's not always the case like that. You get a lot of people that are in this profession for good reasons and for noble reasons as well. My reason for being in the childcare profession is I believe that, I want to, improve children's lives now, because I think that, a lot of kids aren't always given the respect and the care that they deserve. A lot of kids often go through school feeling manipulated by their teachers, or feeling manipulated is the wrong word, but I think they feel that they don't get the experience that they should get from their teachers, or their teachers tell them, you can't do this, you can't do that. Whereas I'm in a position where I can say, no, it's good to do these things. It's good to have someone to listen to. It's good to be emotional.
Yeah.
It's good to be emotive. It's good to be impassioned. It doesn't all have to be about leave school, get a job, get married. Life is much more complex than that. It's more than just an average thing that everyone does the same thing. That's not what life is. If that was the case, there'll be no arts, there'll be no creativity, there'll be no scientists, there'll be no explorers. we'd all be bank managers or something else. I don't know, or teachers or things like that, because we'd have no choice, because it would be creativity. It would be go out and do this. It would be a very strange world we live in.
Something that you said before, I'm really curious about. You said you say to kids, because you said you made a lot of blunders or mistakes or whatever, and you tell the kids it's okay to do that, but you don't dwell on them. You learn from them.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in OCD, and you obviously are more versed on how to talk about that than I am. But by saying that to kids, has that helped you with the OCD?
That has, actually, because it's helped me see that relapsing, as I have recently, is not necessarily, it's not a mistake on my part.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's because I've done something wrong, but it's not something that I should be angry at myself for.
Right.
I think it's probably a better way of putting it. It's not something that I should be angry at. It's not something that I should be accepting of it and going, okay, so this has happened. Now time to move on and get better and do better things. So in that sense, yes, it has. In other sense, not really, because what I generally meant was sort of, it's okay to go through jobs and it's okay to make mistakes and go for the wrong things or have a negative experience of something. No, you go for a job, you do the job, and suddenly you come out going, hang on there, was that any good? Like, you do a tour and you think, oh, that was rubbish, as opposed to dwelling on it and making it seem like a big thing.
Right.
Actually going, okay, that wasn't a great experience, but hey, I learned something. I did something new. I tried it. That's fine. So in that sense, yes. In the other sense of the OCD, yes, it has helped a lot in allowing me to sort of be more open about it and not be angry about it.
Right. That's a really important point, because I think I tend to think, I mean, I observe this in clients that I've worked, hypnotherapy clients that I've worked with, is that sometimes they'll be talking to me at the beginning of a session and, they're sharing very private, very vulnerable things. And then there's a lot of apologizing. And I go, no, don't do that at all. I'm the one person you don't actually have to apologize to anyone, but I'm the one person who you don't have to apologize to, because you've come to me for help. And, and most of all, that you're struggling with something. So, be kind to yourself about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard not to apologize to people for these things, because I think there's not a negative connotation, but you do feel the urge to apologize for stuff that, when you feel vulnerable, someone cries and you say sorry when you're crying. If you're crying in front of someone, you always say, I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah.
Why should you apologize for that? Because it's, people do it. People are emotional. That's the whole point of life. It's because it is, you naturally want to apologize. You naturally want to say, I'm sorry that, you're seeing me like this. It's because we all have that guard in front of us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everyone has a guard in front of them.
I mean, I imagine it's interesting when it comes to mental health things. It's interesting. I don't know if someone broke their leg, I don't know if they're more willing to apologize as much as if they have an outburst or they have a dark day and it's affected other people around them, they seem more willing. I should apologize for that. But would you apologize for breaking your leg? You probably wouldn't.
Exactly. Yeah. That's such a big argument now. It's such a common argument of, would you respond to a broken arm the same way you respond to mental health? It's it's that age old question of physical health versus mental health. It's such a huge thing.
So Adam, I just wanted to talk now about your podcast called Speak Out, Speak with Pride. Something you've made already and you're looking to kind of sink your teeth back into. Can you tell me more about that and how that came about?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a long sort of journey really to that podcast. So I went to a conference about a year and a half ago now, and that conference was basically how to challenge mental health through a company called Time to Change. How to challenge mental health, how to challenge how we perceive mental health, and how we campaign for it, how we can campaign for fairer lives for people with mental health conditions. So I went through a string of blogs. I did some vlogging, some other stuff as well. It was a weird sort of selection of things that I did to promote mental health, and it was working for a little bit. But then I came across a podcast. For the life of me, cannot remember the name of it, but I remember listening to another one called Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, and I thought, wow, this is really good. This is so interesting, because
you're a big Harry Potter fan, right?
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. A huge Harry Potter fan. I absolutely adore it. I listened to that and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. Podcasting is a really nice way to get your views out.
Yeah.
So I tried that for a little while and I had a really successful experience. And it is such an interesting media to go from, because you've got, a sudden range of audiences of all sorts of ages. Everyone
Mm.
listens to
Yeah.
podcasts. Not everyone will watch a vlog. Not everyone will go immediately to read a blog.
Mm.
Blogging are incredible for those that are good at it. But for someone like me who's not good at blogging or things like that, then it's slightly different. It can be a strenuous experience. So podcasting, I did that on SoundCloud. So I
Great.
came up with the name, came up with the title. Again, it's going for a big revamp at the moment, but it's coming back soon.
Fabulous. Well,
Fresh.
you'll have to let me know, and I'll let everybody out there go and have a listen to it. So
Oh,
that's
thank you very
that's
much.
fantastic.
Thank you. I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up, Adam. So you mentioned, is it Time to Change?
Yeah,
Yeah, tell me more
time
about
to
who they
change.
are
Yeah.
and how they've affected your life.
Oh, Time to Change a charity in the UK. They're a UK-based charity, and they basically have hundreds of resources on their website to help look after and confront mental health, and ways to help you cope with it as well. So there's loads of resources, for instance, coping with diagnosis, how to live day-to-day life with it. It is an incredible charity, Time to Change. They are so supportive. They will support you from the moment you set foot in their door or look on their website. They are an incredibly wonderful resource, not only for yourself, but also if you're a teacher like myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's got resources for children's mental health as well. So
Fabulous.
for Mental Health Week, which was, how long ago was Mental Health Awareness Week? Can you remember? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
I
ago?
think it might have been, yeah, May-ish,
It
yeah.
was in May, yeah. That's it, yeah.
Mhm.
It was in May. For that, I printed off a load of resources and just put them around the school I work at. And
Great.
it was really successful, yeah, because it's tailored to how kids respond to mental health. And
Mm.
it was brilliant to read and look at. It was, yeah, really successful.
And if you could offer, I mean, anyone really, but if creatives are watching this and they also might be struggling with OCD or haven't been diagnosed but suspect they might be, what are your top tips or any rituals or things that you do to kind of help manage that?
I think for me personally, as a creative, I find that music is probably, I love listening to classical music. This is slightly odd, but I love classical music. I listen to it whenever I go, because sometimes I will relapse, like I have done about a couple of weeks ago. I had a massive relapse, and so I would do some basic meditation, and I listen
Great.
to some classical music in the background, and it just calms me right down. My main top tip for anyone going through this is just be open. Be open to yourself, be open to other people. Do not shut yourself away, and do not overthink. I know that's really, really, really like easy to say
Yeah.
and 100 times harder to do, but you'll find that when you've come out the other side and you're feeling better, you'll feel so much better for having been open about it. Don't be afraid to be emotional is another one that I find, because I am afraid to be emotional a lot. Actually, I find I've only just started coming to terms with being an emotional person, and letting emotions out is a hugely healthy thing to do.
Mm.
Like you don't want it suddenly all spilling out at once. Find your time to just release the emotion in a healthy, positive way,
And how do you do
and that
that?
will help. Hmm?
What do you do to release the emotion?
Well, often it's just a case of having a good cry. I know that sounds really weird, but it is true. Actually, having a good cry is often a good way to go about it. And also, as well, going for a run or doing something that gets the adrenaline working in a proper way can give you an emotional response. And
Mm.
it does get the good emotions going as opposed to bad emotions, negative emotions like anger or things like that. So yeah, those are my main top tips. That's my main top tips for anyone going through anything at the moment. And know you're not alone as well is another good one.
Fantastic. Well,
Yes.
Adam, thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited to see what you're going to do with,
Thank you.
children's development and where they're going to go tomorrow and who they might become. I think you're going to be I think you already probably are, but I think you're going to be an excellent role model. And
Thank
it's
you.
the passion that you have for teaching is essential to really,
Yeah.
get kids excited about the arts or life or whatever it might be. So I
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
you joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure
No
to do
problem.
this lovely work with you, and I'm so honoured to have met you as well at this event. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
Really.
likewise. Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this. And if you'd like to see more videos in this series, please remember to subscribe to Why This.